Hello, and welcome back to the spoilerCast, show where we talk about movies, and we don't care about spoiling them because it's the spoilerCast. And with me, as always, is my sister and trusted co-host, Rebecca. Hello. And in today's episode, we are talking about another horror movie. Oh, no way!
Surprise, surprise!
Surprise, surprise! It's John Carpenter's The Fog.
Yes.
Which is kind of on point for the Halloween season, because we haven't told the audience yet, but we're doing a little project for Halloween. Where we are recording commentary tracks for all 11 Halloween movies that have been released so far. And we have...
We have other guests as well.
Yes, it's going to be me on some of them. Me and Rebecca have recorded one so far, and we're going to have some other guests on. And we're gonna try and do all 11, not including Halloween Kills, because we don't have that yet in Sweden, so that's impossible.
We might be able to do a episode on it, but not a commentary.
But not a commentary track. But either way, if you wanna check out all those episodes, they will be available all at once in the end of October, just before the actual Halloween Eve.
All Hallows Eve.
Yes, exactly. So you can listen to it and watch the movies that weekend. They're available on Patreon. So for only $3 a month, you get all those commentary tracks, including all the other commentary tracks we have recorded and will record in the future. And also including the exclusive episodes of this podcast and early access to my other podcast, Madness in the Method, the Nicolas Cage podcast.
Probably other fun things.
Oh yes, I am uploading. I am uploading as we speak. Well, after we speak, I am uploading a uncut video where I talk about Halloween 2018. The edited version will go up on YouTube. But if you for only $3 a month, you will get the uncut video. It's more of a rant style video than an edited video. Anyway, that's not what we're going to talk about today. Today we're going to talk about the 1980 horror movie, horror chiller, The Fog, written and directed by John Carpenter, but also written by Deborah Hill.
Yes.
It is it's the movie he made immediately after Halloween, because he made Halloween in 1978, and this he started shooting in 1979. And it was part of a 2-movie deal with Avco Films. It was this and Escape from New York, which he shot almost back to back. And it's the story of a little coastal town in Northern California, I believe.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, called San Antonio Bay or Spivey Point. I'm not sure
I'm guessing the city's called San Antonio Bay, and then Spivey Point is just
the area.
Point.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Where on the eve of the 100-year celebration of the town San Antonio Bay, a mysterious fog rolls in, and something is in the fog. I won't say more about the plot because we don't want to spoil it. Well, we'll get into spoilers. Yeah. So, I was going to say this was the first time you watched it, but you just told me before we started recording that you actually did see this before.
Yes. I did watch it today. Of course,
sure, yeah.
To remember everything, because I believe it was a couple of years ago or so.
At least I haven't seen this in a while.
You were house sitting for our parents, and we watched a bunch of movies that summer. This one was one of them.
Sure. Yeah, but it must have been a while ago, because I haven't seen this in a long time.
Few years. Couple of years. 3 years, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. Sure.
Something like that.
But as you were watching it, did you remember any of it? Or was it just, oh, wait, I have seen this?
No, I think I remember bits and pieces.
Okay.
I didn't remember the whole founding fathers and the the leprosy colony or whatever it was.
Sure, no, yeah,
The
I've seen
strange
this multiple
details.
times, and I didn't remember that in rewatching it.
But I did remember the ship, the modern ship, the Seagrass. What was it
yeah,
called?
the seagrass, yeah.
And the crew,
Oh,
and
okay.
they're disappearing.
But so you didn't really have an opinion on. I mean, you had seen it, but you didn't remember seeing it. So maybe did you have an opinion on it before watching it this time?
I don't remember.
No. Well, I can ask you then. What did you think this time?
It was actually quite alright. It wasn't as scary as I thought it would be, but it wasn't as bad as I was kind of worried it might be.
Okay.
To be honest, because it's just like a killing fog. Come on, that sounds kind of weird.
Well, there are ghosts in the fog.
Yes.
Very, very physical ghosts that actually
Yes.
like stab and kill people. But sure, it's a killer fog, and it's a John Carpenter movie, so they're gonna move very slowly.
They move just like fog.
Yeah. Yeah, and also I rewatched it a couple of times in preparation for this, and then just before we started recording, I was watching it with a commentary track. Bad time management, so I only managed to watch the first hour with the commentary track, but still.
I mean, it's only an hour 30 almost.
25, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
So I saw the most part with the commentary track, and it's kind of funny because he points out something. The commentary track was recorded in 1995, because he mentions he just finished filming what's it called? Village of the Damned, the one with little kids. I think it's Village of the Damned. Yeah,
Something like that.
he made a remake of that in the mid 90s. And he mentions that when this movie was made, and this and Halloween, they were almost critiqued for making too scary. The movies they were making were too scary. And he says, as they're watching it in 95, that's in 1995, he's like, but they feel kind of quaint watching it now. And I'm like, yeah, watching it in 2020, it's not really scary anymore.
No. I can see that it was back then.
And I still think there are a couple of scenes that are creepy.
Sure.
But, I mean, overall, it's not scary.
No. No, because we're used to, like, bigger, badder monsters and more blood and killing and gore and just everything being bigger.
That's another thing he mentioned, that they actually went back and reshot some stuff or shot extra stuff more, because they realized when the movie was finished that they didn't have enough like gore, so they went back and shot more gore. And I was like, what do you mean gore? There's not a single drop of blood in the movie.
Where did they put that gore? I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, she gets... No, that's not her. That's the radio lady. What's her name?
Adrienne Barbeau.
Yeah, she gets stabbed.
She gets stabbed in the shoulder.
That's one thing in the end.
Yeah, you have a couple of scenes. You have the crew of the Seagrass when they get attacked. One of the guys are impaled by a sword twice.
Oh, that's true.
The other guy is chopped with those big hooks, they're like meat hooks.
Yeah.
And then the younger guy inside the boat gets his eyes poked out with some sort of pick something, I don't know. But we never see any blood, but that's what they considered gore, because that was stuff they reshot. That wasn't even in the original movie.
Huh.
It was just supposed to be the fog rolling in. And then
they found
to them
later.
being gone, yeah. Which I could appreciate that as well, making it more mysterious. But I also like the fact that we see the ghost, not pirates, but ghosts in the fog. Because a lot of that was not supposed to be seen. that was the stuff they went back and shot extra.
I mean, as the first scene where we see where like something happens with the fog, it would have been slightly cooler probably to have it be more mysterious and not show us the monsters or the ghosts.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because we have that scene when Jamie Lee Curtis and what's his name, Nick?
Well, the
Tom
characters,
Atkins?
Yeah, Tom Atkins. The character's name is Nick Castle.
When they're hanging out at his place, I'm guessing, and
Yeah.
the ghosts come knocking.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, because we see the silhouette, but we don't see them. It's like, ooh.
That scene in
like
particular, though, is one that I laugh at every time, because you see the silhouette of someone standing outside the door, but when Tom Atkins goes to open the door, he's supposed to like slowly walk into the shadow, but he kind of wags back like out of frame. It just looks like it looks very unintimidating.
Well,
unfortunately,
maybe the costume was a bit stiff.
Well, it's actually most of the ghosts are just like grips and extra personnel dressed in black.
Oh. Well, except for the fact when you see them.
Oh, sure. When you actually see them,
yeah,
there's makeup effects and stuff on them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the movie opens, the first act really is that first night where you have the old fisherman telling the story, the ghost story to the kids around the campfire.
Yes.
And then you have the fog rolling in, killing the crew on the seagrass, and the town sort of as what's her name, Nancy Loomis says later, coming undone.
Yeah.
One of the younger woman who helps the old lady, Janet Leigh, with the preparations for the celebration. She mentions that nothing has happened for years, and then one night everything comes undone.
Yeah, because she mentioned that like her car alarm went off.
Yeah.
The old little lady says that her dog freaked out.
Started
people
barking.
Are talking about like windows being broken and people disappearing.
Yeah, and we see that there's almost like an earthquake in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And
all the electricity just kind of flickers off
and on. I mean, the gas station turns on.
Yeah, that's true.
And yeah, Tom Atkins.
TVs.
Yeah, you see that as well. There's
sparkle.
Yeah, when windows, the windows on Tom Atkins' car are blown out when he picks up the hitchhiking. It's almost Laurie Strode. What's her name?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis. Sorry. Yeah. So there's something going on, and that's before we have heard what the priest found in the book.
Yeah, that happens right after all of that. We get to see the priest finding the book, I think.
Yeah, it's everything's happening because, it's on the dot 100 years ago since the ship sunk outside Spivey Point, and they disappeared in the fog. When he finds a diary of his great-grandfather or grandfather.
Great-grandfather.
I think great-grandfather, who was also a priest in that town. And that church kind of becomes a hub of the movie later, because you have a lot of scenes with the priest reading from that book, and everyone joining up in the end.
Yeah,
taking refuge in the church,
barricading themselves in there.
Which is kind of ironic. Well, I guess we'll get to that a little later, because the ghosts are all really heading towards the church. If they were hiding anywhere else, they wouldn't have had to worry about the ghosts too much.
No, probably not.
But yeah, we should also mention that there is a priest in the town, in the town's church, who finds a journal hidden in the walls. The wall kind of breaks off, and hidden inside the wall is the journal. And we also in that scene get a cameo from the director. He is the assistant. He's not even an altar boy. He's too old to be an altar boy.
Is he the young guy who's like cleaning up?
Yeah, he's turning off all the lights.
His money.
Yeah, can I get paid now, Father? And he's like, you know what? Take the
show up 2 hours later.
Yeah, take some time off tomorrow. That's John Carpenter.
Oh, okay. Like that's gonna help. Can I get paid? Yeah. No, but you can start 2 hours later tomorrow. Is that fine?
Oh, thanks. I'm gonna make less money this month. Yes.
Pays my rent. Thank you. You can't argue with a priest, though, can you?
No, not really. So he just says, "Oh, okay, goodbye." But yeah, then the night is over. Tom Atkins and oh my God,
Jamie Lee Curtis.
I cannot remember names when we do these episodes. They shack up, even though she was supposed to continue on to Canada.
Yeah, Vancouver.
but she's just like,
specifically.
Tom Atkins is a 5 out of 10. I guess I'll jump his bones.
She must have found him attractive. At first, I was like, do they know each other? But then as the conversation kept going, it's like, okay, and they don't. No, they don't. Because when she hopped in the car, it's like, maybe this is just like a fun thing they pretend sometimes. I don't know.
No, they don't know. She's from San Francisco. She's never been there.
No, I understood that later on when the conversation continued. It's like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah. But Tom Atkins works. He owns the boats or works with the boats. One of them being the Seagrass.
He was supposed to meet up with them at like 8:30 or something.
Yeah.
When they came back. But they didn't come back.
They didn't come back, of course. So they head out to sea to find the boat, and at the same time, you have the preparations for the celebration. You have Janet Leigh, who is Jamie Lee Curtis's real mother, life mother, and also the star of Psycho. Well, not really star. She's the woman who gets killed in the shower in the infamous or famous, I guess, shower scene.
Is that her?
Yeah, that's Janet Leigh.
Cool.
Yeah, kind of unceremoniously in this movie, and even though she's like a huge like horror movie like legend because of Psycho, but I don't think she was like mentioned too much in like promos and stuff. Maybe she was. I haven't watched too much of it. Either way, her and Nancy Loomis, who played Annie Brackett in Halloween. There's a lot of returning cast from other John Carpenter movies in this. Nancy Loomis and Janet Leigh are preparing the festivities, and they are heading up to the church to talk.
I didn't find her at first when you said Nancy Loomis. She's listed as Nancy Keys nowadays.
Oh, okay, yeah, she was known as Nancy Loomis back then.
Yeah.
She got married, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they head up towards the church because they want the priest to give the processions or whatever, read something from the Bible. I don't know church stuff.
They're church-going people. They want the priest to be there.
Yeah. But then he, of course, reveals the hidden history of San Antonio Bay when he reads from the journal of his great-grandfather.
Yes.
Because the story goes that a ship was lost outside of Spivey Point because of the fog 100 years ago, and that the ship carried like gold doubloons, Spanish gold doubloons, and that was used to like build the town basically, because they found the money on the shore and in the ship, and they used that to build the town. And that's why San Antonio Bay is quite a nice little town, coastal town. But as they find out when he reads from the journal, it was actually payment. It was payment from a rich man who wanted to build a leper colony just a mile away from where the settlement was. Before it was a town, it was a settlement.
Yeah.
And the priest, Father Malone, and 5 other conspirators whose name we never get.
Well, we know they're related to some people in town still.
Yes, they are related to some people in town, but we never get their names. But we know that the priest, Father Malone, was involved because he's the one writing the journal. They decide to because they want the money, but they don't want a bunch of lepers hanging out so close to their settlement. So they decide like yes, head into. They fool the lepers on the ship to actually crash their ship with a fake lighthouse. They just make a fire on the beach, so they run ashore and the ship sinks.
Yes,
killing all the lepers, and then they retrieve the gold and use that to build the town. And that's what kind of puts the curse on the town, because now 100 years later, those lepers want their revenge.
At least their gold back.
Or at least their gold back. Well, we do get Adrienne Barbeau's son finds a piece of driftwood on the beach,
Yes.
which has part of the ship's name on. It's something Lane? Dane, right.
No, Dame Elizabeth or Elizabeth
No, Elizabeth
Dame or
Dane.
something?
Elizabeth
Dane.
Dane.
Okay, yeah.
And she that's the start of second act, because after the night when the Seagrass crew is killed and everything seems to go wrong in the town, we cut to the morning after, the morning of the April 21st, the actual day when it happened. And it starts with Adrian Barbeau's son finding a piece of driftwood that says Dane on it.
He says it looked like gold at first, but
Yeah.
then it turned into wood.
It was a gold coin that turned into a piece of wood. And she works as the local radio DJ. She has a little radio station set up in an old defunct lighthouse. I mean, technically the lighthouse is working, but not the old stuff because she sits where the light is supposed to be.
Yeah. But it's updated.
Yes. So she heads off to work. This is while everything else is going on. Tom Atkins and oh my god, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Thank you.
Jamie Lee Curtis heads out to sea to find the seagrass, and Janet Leigh and Nancy Loomis heads up to the church to talk to the priest. At the same time, at the same time, she is going up to the radio station because she has the like late night show. Like from 6 p.m. to 1 p.m. She sends jazz radio, the smooth tones of jazz.
Yes, she keeps all the people working late.
Yeah, company. Yeah, and I love that. That's kind of a narrative framework that they have. That because she's basically up in that lighthouse, broadcasting throughout the entire movie.
Yeah,
and she's like connecting people, like sending out messages to the police, sending out messages to Tom Atkins and Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh my god.
She even sends out in the initial message to the seagrass that there's a fog coming.
Yes, exactly. Because she of course has she is connected to the weather people.
Yeah.
Because of radio. And I just love it's almost romanticized vision of a little radio station with one person just playing old jazz records and talking real smooth. And yeah, the kind of that kind of radio don't exist anymore, and I miss that. No. Like remember maybe you used to sleep maybe, but when we would like go on road trips to meet our grandma and grandpa way down south in Sweden.
Yeah,
they were like 8-hour car rides, and sometimes we drove during the night. Not we, our dad mostly, or mom.
Yeah.
And they used to play stuff like that, like people talking real quiet, real smooth.
No, I do remember that.
Yeah, and then playing like easy listening music.
Yeah. Instead of what we have most of the days today, people just shouting and being loud and like, hey,
yeah, and I mean,
happy things, woo!
Radio is barely. I mean, radio still exists, but I mean, I don't listen. I haven't listened to radio in years. Now it's all podcasts.
True, but you still have a few Swedish radio stations.
Oh, sure, yes.
The same old thing as they've been for the last 15 years, basically.
So if you would stay up all night, you could probably hear something similar to this today.
Oh yeah, specifically on like
we have the state-run radio channels. SR. SR 1, 2, and 3, and 4.
Also the one the coast. What's it called?
Oh right, they're like the little local stations along the coast. We have a lot of skärgårdsradio, archipelago radio.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. That one usually plays later at night. At least it plays a bit softer music.
Yeah. So I really like that, and I nurtured a dream of being a radio DJ and doing stuff like that when I was younger. But then radio kind of died. So it was like, nah, not radio. That's why we do podcasts.
Yeah.
Anyway, one thing though, that's the first problem with the movie for me. It's a little nitpick, but still, I gotta mention it. She takes that piece of driftwood with her
Yes.
to the radio station.
Yes.
There's no reason for her to do it other than she needs to have that piece of driftwood up there because that's the first warning sign that something's wrong when it just bursts into flame out of nowhere, and the message on the wood, because it says Dane, of course Elizabeth Dane, but we don't see the whole name, but that changes to 6 must die as a sort of an omen, and that's when she starts thinking like something's wrong here, and she connects the fog to that.
Doesn't she bring it along because she wants to ask the guy who keeps calling her about it?
She doesn't. She doesn't mention that driftwood.
She does.
Yeah, that's because it spontaneously combusted.
Yeah, that's, I guess. But maybe she was going to anyways. We don't know that.
Yeah, but that's not hinted at in the movie. So just like, oh, hi mom, I found this piece of driftwood. Oh, that's very nice. A piece of wet wood. Thanks. I'll bring this to work. And it's like, what?
Yeah, that's true.
That's
a bit strange.
It's a bit strange. And we'll get to some more strange stuff later in the movie. But yes, the priest going back to him reading the book, because that is like before nightfall, because it's April, so it gets dark pretty quickly.
Specifically there for some reason.
He mentioned that this town is cursed. We can't celebrate murderers. And Janet Leigh's like, well, it's too late now. We got to do it.
Everything's settled.
Yeah. So they all start with the celebrations.
Isn't that also when Jamie Lee Curtis and no, I don't remember his name. Tom Atkins find the boat.
Yes, that's the same time. They find the boat, and everything is like the engine is flooded. Everything is rusted. It's like it's been out there for years.
On the bottom of the sea for years or something. And the one guy they find, he looks like he's actually been underwater for months.
Yeah. So two of the guys are just gone, and the one left looks like he's been at the bottom of the ocean for a couple of months.
But he's only been missing for like half a day.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, basically, half a day.
Yeah.
So they bring him back, and because of what Adrienne Barbeau's character, I forget what her name is in the movie.
Daisy? Nancy? Stevie. Wayne.
I was gonna say Wynn, but that's the producer for Good Mythical Morning, Stevie Wynn. Anyway, she starts connecting the fog to the disappearance, because she hear over the Coast Guard radio channels that they have found the seagrass, but that the crew is missing.
Yeah.
So she starts making like connections, because they were in the fog, and that was the same time that stuff started happening in the town.
Also, the guy on the phone mentioned after she reported on the fog to the seagrass that, oh, well, you lied. It's actually going another way now. And then she's like, the wind's blowing that way.
The wind was blowing east, and the fog was moving west or something like that.
How is the fog moving against the wind?
Yeah, so she starts saying like, maybe you should stay away from the fog. And then Tom Atkins hears this, and he calls the radio station, to mention that we found one of the crewmen, and he looked like he had been submerged for months, and something's wrong, and they start putting things together.
Yes.
Mainly that the fog is dangerous. They don't know what it is.
They just they just know that you should stay away from the fog.
Yeah. So
I think they even say something's in the fog killing people.
Yeah. So they go. As night falls and the celebrations start, all the townspeople are just on that little town square.
Most of them, at least.
Yeah, they mention what name it has a name.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
whatever.
But the rest of them,
they have the new statue of the ship, Elizabeth Dane.
Yeah, exactly. But then Tom Atkins and Jamie Lee Curtis and Adrienne Barbeau, and everyone like involved in the story, Janet Leigh and Nancy Loomis, they realize that something's wrong. So they have to go and get Adrian Barbeau's son.
Yes, because she notices that the fog is moving towards her house, and the old lady who's watching her son won't be able to protect him.
Yeah. So Tom Atkins saves the son, while the ghosts get the old lady, Mrs. Cobritz.
Yes.
And then they all converge on the church.
Yes.
And they're like, "Whoa, we need to." And it's kind of funny because after that, we don't see any more of the townspeople. We don't see any more of the town. No, I think
the last thing we see is when what was her name? Nancy? Kathy. Janet Leigh.
Yeah.
Mrs. Williams. She's like doing her last thing, and then the power dies, and they're like, "Well, it's fine. We're just gonna do the candle thing now, anyways. Yeah. We don't need power."
They were gonna
just
have
send people on
a candlelight procession.
Yeah.
So they do that, and then they leave, and they go for the church, because they know what happened in the town, because they heard it earlier from the priest. So they go up there. Tom Atkins drives up there because it's the only safe place. Adrian Barbeau says. I guess maybe it's like the highest.
It's most
point
inland
in the town?
and highest point, I think.
So they all go there, but from all accounts, the ghosts only attack the church. We don't see them attack anywhere else in the town.
Well, they did attack the old lady where.
But that was because they came in, because that house is right on the beach. So that's where they came from. And the only time we see them in the town is when they shut down the electricity. They destroy the generator with the mist or the fog.
I guess.
Other than that, they just attack the people in the church.
Well, she is saying on the radio, like, the fog is moving whatever direction, drive that way if you're in the city.
Yeah, there are some
town.
There are some shots when they have like a fog machine in the town, and you kind of see it, but you don't see any people or anything. That's mostly for budgetary reasons. But anyway, so they get to the church, and the priest he's completely black. He's drunk. First of all, drunk, because that's the first thing we see him do in the movie. He uncorks a bottle of whiskey. And Janet Leigh mentions that when they go up to meet him the first time, that pray that he's not into his cups.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, we deserve this. We did this to ourselves." Oh. And then he realizes that all the gold from the
he continues to read, and it says that I've hidden the gold in the church. Our sins are in the walls or something.
Yeah, and he realizes there's a huge golden cross, like solid gold cross. So he picks it up, and he says the main ghost's name. I don't remember.
Bellum or something?
No, I don't remember.
Bailey?
I don't remember. Either way, I have your gold. Take your gold. And he takes the gold from him. Tom Atkins. Blake, yes. Edward Blake? Blake Edward?
It's just this Blake.
Just Blake, okay. And as he grabs the gold, he disappears.
The gold starts burning.
Yeah, the gold starts glowing.
And disappears.
Yeah, and he disappears with the gold. Everyone who is being attacked by the ghost, because it's attacking.
No, wait, he doesn't disappear, does he?
Not the priest, but the ghost does.
Oh yeah.
Because Tom Atkins grabs the priest,
right,
pulls him away from the cross, and that's when the ghost and the cross disappears.
Right. Yeah.
And everything just turns back to normal all of a sudden.
It seems,
yes.
It's still nighttime, so you don't know. Maybe something happened.
Sure. But everyone's fine, and at the same time, a couple of ghosts have been attacking the radio station. Adrian Barbeau has climbed all the way up onto the roof of the lighthouse, and is trying to fend off two of the ghosts.
Again, very physical ghosts. Stab her.
Yeah, they stab her in the shoulder with a meat hook.
Yeah,
and she manages to grab one of the ghost's weapons. I didn't.
Well, she gets the hook from herself.
Yeah, but I didn't think you could just grab a ghost like that. Whatever. That's nitpicking.
If it can physically hurt you, you can probably physically grab it.
I suppose.
At least the weapon.
Yeah. Anyway.
We don't know how ghosts work.
No,
okay?
sure. And we've mentioned that before. There are
Yes.
different logics for different ghosts in different movies. Anyway.
Yes.
So, but as he grabs the gold, all the ghosts disappear, so they're all safe.
It's like they've gotten what they wanted. And
yes,
then they leave.
Of course, like ghosts usually do. They have a certain goal with why they're returning or why they're haunting a place.
Yes.
And Adrienne Barbeau sends out, because the radio kept going because she had a backup generator in the lighthouse. So she mentions that if we don't wake up tomorrow, maybe this was all a dream or something. I don't know.
Something like that.
Something like that. It's like, ooh, ominous message that they might come back one day. And then,
which you do have like a almost post-credit scene, but it's technically not because it's before the credits. But it feels like a post-credit.
Yeah, if it was
scene.
done today, it would have been like a mid-credit or post-credit scene, because we cut back to the church. Everyone's fine. Everyone has gone home.
Yeah.
And the priest is walking around like, why did they only take 5? Why didn't they take me? Since he is the ancestor of the main conspirator.
Yeah.
And then you see all the ghosts. They're back in the church, and the main ghost, Blake, draws his sword and cuts the priest's head off. Cut to black
with the nastiest sound ever.
Yeah, and then credits roll.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, before I used to say this was one of my favorite Carpenter movies. I'm not a big fan of Carpenter. He is a legendary director, but I've talked about this before. We've talked about this before. And I've even made a video about this, which you can check out on YouTube.
Right here on YouTube.
Yeah, right. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll pop up on the screen, I suppose. But if you're just listening to this, check out the YouTube channel. There are links everywhere. Where I talk about that John Carpenter's really only, like, he became a legend based off of 2 movies, really. Maybe 3. You have Halloween, which is heralded as one of the greatest horror movies of all time.
Yes.
You have The Thing, which is heralded as one of the greatest horror movies / thrillers of all time.
Yes.
And then you have Escape from New York, which is considered a cult classic.
Right.
And then there are some other movies. People would argue that, like Assault on Precinct 13 and The Fog, are counted as cult classics. But other than that, he has mostly made like mediocre stuff, especially stuff he himself wrote.
I'm looking at things that he directed.
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, he did Big Trouble in Little China. Don't you like that one?
I do like that one, but it's like objectively it's a bad movie.
Yeah, that's true.
I do like it because of all the stuff that goes on in it. Sure, yeah, I do like that one. But I mean, then you have movies like Vampires, Ghosts of Mars. His like last movie, The Ward, is terrible. What else? His first movie, Dark Star, is really bad. There's so much stuff, and I am not a fan of Escape from New York. I think that is a bad movie. I can understand that it has a cult status, but it's, for me, not to his it's to his detriment as a filmmaker. I think that movie, and then of course the sequel to that, Escape from LA, which is just horrific. I mean, it is downright awful.
One of them. I'm guessing I've seen Escape from New York.
Maybe.
Because you must have shown it to
probably,
me.
because
you probably showed me the first one.
It's the one I own. Yeah, I have seen the Escape from LA. I know me and my dad, or our dad. Well, my dad, but yeah, he's my dad, but he's your dad as well. Our dad.
Yes.
We rented it back in like '97 because it looked like a cool movie on the cover. I don't think.
Well, yeah.
Well, I had no idea what Escape from New York was, and I'm pretty sure our dad didn't, because he's not like a film guy.
No, he just watches something that looks cool when he sees it.
So we rented that one, and I remember back then I was like 6 or 7 years old. Sure, I liked it, but then I rewatched it when I was like maybe 23, 25 or something. And it is just the worst. And then you have movies like what's it called? Not Starman. Oh yeah, Starman. I think, and it's boring and bad. One of the few good movies he's made is Memoirs of an Invisible Man, which was just like a director for hire job that he hated making that movie. But it's honestly one of his better movies, I think. So yeah, having that in my mind, especially now in the last few years, when I really like come to terms that maybe John Carpenter isn't like a great director. He made a couple of good movies, but that's it. And rewatching this,
back in the 80s, they were probably pretty good.
Sure, but watching it now, I mean, I looked at IMDb and I had rated it many years ago. I rated it an 8 out of 10. But I would not give this an 8 out of 10 now. It is still on the whole pretty good, but there's so many bad things in it now. And I'm not just talking like the special effects or whatever, because that's of the time, and also the fact that this is a very low budget movie. Low budget. It cost $1 million back in 1980. It's kind of funny what they call
low budget for that.
But it's kind of funny what they call low budget, because $1 million back in 1980, that's like, I would guess like $3 million today.
Probably.
Yeah, that's what we spend on like an average like big budget movie in Sweden today.
Yeah.
Okay, I looked that up. The average like Swedish movie costs between like what is it, like 15 and 35 million crowns. So between between
1.5.
Yeah, 1.5 $2 million up to maybe $5 million. That's like our big movies
that are solely produced in Sweden, I suppose. I mean, you do have some productions that are like co-produced with other countries, then the budgets are usually bigger.
Yeah. I talked about this a few years ago when I did a review of a Swedish movie called The Unthinkable. That the biggest production in Sweden of all time, and probably will always be the biggest, is the first Arn movie, which was it was an international.
That's a co-production.
Thing. Yeah. It was. Yeah. It cost 100 million Swedish crowns, which is about
10 million?
12 million dollars.
Something like that.
And that was a co-production between 5 different countries to get that money together. So it's kind of funny when he says this was a really low budget movie, cost $1 million in 1980. Anyway, I know it's different from country to country what we spend on movies, and
Yeah, I mean, sure, Hollywood in America will always spend more money than any other country basically on movies.
Yeah, I mean, like not a zero budget, but like a micro budget movie like The Evil Dead, they still spent like hundreds of thousands of dollars on that movie over the like 3 years they made it. It's just like, what the fuck? Anyway, but it is a very low budget movie. So I'm like talking about like some bad special effects. That's not fair. The problem is the same problem as it always is with John Carpenter movies, especially when he writes them. They're so slow.
Yes.
And
very slow.
I know that a lot of people say that, oh, that's building mood. And sure, the first scenes after the fisherman tells the ghost story, and we start to see weird things happening in the town, and you see the fog coming in over the sea.
Yeah.
I think those scenes are really good.
Yeah.
They're setting the mood, sure. But after that, after they kill the people on the seagrass boat, that's like the first, I think like 15-20 minutes of the movie. And those are probably like the best scenes in the movie. Because then there is so much other stuff that is it just wastes your time. Like, we see Adrienne Barbeau drive up to the lighthouse. She drives to the lighthouse. She then walks out of her car, walks up to the gate, walks down the stairs while playing radio promos that we have to listen to. Several promos that are just the same thing over and over again. She walks into the lighthouse, up the stairs to the actual radio studio, makes herself a cup of coffee, and looks out a window while we listen to the same radio promo over and over again.
Until
that's
she
like
says
5 minutes.
A few words and then puts on music instead.
Well, that's when the piece of wood starts burning.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, she does something before that, but yeah.
Yeah, she does listen to the Coast Guard channel saying that they found the seagrass.
Right.
That's the only piece of information we get from that entire scene.
Yes.
And you can't say that's setting the mood because it's all shot during the day. It's bright and happy and green rolling hills. Like, it's not setting any sort of mood. It's just,
it feels like a filler.
Yes, it feels definitely like a filler.
Which it kind of probably is, considering the length of the movie. Because 1 hour 30 is
that's
like bare minimum for a like a proper movie nowadays, and even back then.
Yeah.
Like, technically, I guess it's 40 minutes, but no one makes a movie that's only 40 minutes.
I know. The original length of a feature length is 45, but nobody does that.
Yeah. No, everyone makes like at least 1 hour 25.
Yes, and this is
That's
just
like minimum.
I have the DVD in front of me. It's 1 hour and 26 minutes.
1 hour 29 according to IMDb.
Yeah,
so
yeah, but it's probably because Blu-rays are slower for some. I don't know.
Right.
When you watch a movie on Blu-ray, it is longer than if you watch it on DVD. I don't know why that is, but it just is.
Isn't it the opposite?
No.
Okay.
I've tested this like a long time ago. I watched The Dark Knight because I got that on DVD. And it was just when we started getting like high definition TVs and players here in our house. Well, where we lived back then, our parents' house. And I got it on DVD and I was like, oh, thank you, but I was kind of ungrateful, and I was like, I wanted it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, but I think you bought it like
I bought it myself on Blu-ray.
Yes,
I bought it myself on Blu-ray.
We still had 2 TVs available, so you set it up.
I set up just to see the difference between high definition Blu-ray and a standard definition DVD.
Yeah.
And I noticed that they like went out of sync. And I synced them up again, and then eventually like the DVD just ran ahead of the Blu-ray. I'm like, what the fuck?
Right.
And because that movie is pretty long, it's like 2 hours and 30 minutes or something.
Something, yeah.
By the end, there's like they differ, like there's several minutes difference between the movies.
Yeah.
Even though it's the same movie, there's no extra scenes or anything. It's just something
slower.
makes it slower. And I've never looked that up because I don't really care. It's just like whatever. But it is
fascinating to see it.
Yes. Anyway, so maybe I don't know did you watch this on YouTube?
Well, no, because it's technically not on YouTube, but I could rent it through Google Play.
Oh, okay.
Apparently.
And I'm guessing that was a 1080p video?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, a high definition video.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think I took the high definition one.
So I'm guessing that's why the movie was 1 hour 30 instead of 1 hour 26.
No, but it says 1 hour 29 on IMDb, so.
Oh yeah, I guess it does. Huh.
Whatever.
Anyway, I know, unlike our The Shining discussion, I know there is only one version of The Fog. There is no director's cut or anything. So
no, I don't think we've watched different versions.
No.
Anyway, they're just counting credits or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so
yes, the movie is very slow in certain points.
Very
the entire
slow.
Where it's like daylight between the first night and the actual night.
Yeah.
It feels very like nothing really happens.
No, there are little things that happens. We have Tom Atkins and Jamie Lee Curtis find the body. They find the boat and the body.
Sure.
But
that's a very short scene.
Yeah, and there's the whole scene where they just sit down and talk about Tom Atkins' ghost story when his father had found, because he was a fisherman as well, his father had found a gold coin that just disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have Janet Leigh and Nancy Loomis just walking around talking about the celebration. And it's not until they get to the church that we actually get some more information. There's a lot of
We do
little filler
get a
stuff.
tiny bit where she's like, "Oh, I'm so worried. I didn't sleep anything because my husband didn't come home."
Because he's
one of the fishermen
on the seagrass. Yeah. So there are little snippets of information, but it's just like it's delivered in these long takes.
Yes.
And it's just boring. It's boring. Sure, we get the information, but it's not fun to watch. And I realized in a movie that's an hour 25, an hour 30, when Adrian Barbeau arrives at the lighthouse, half the movie is over.
Yes.
And we've really only had that opening scene with the seagrass that is really like horror, you know?
Yeah.
And the rest is just setting the mood. And I don't...
Information, I suppose. It doesn't really set the mood. It just gives us more information about what happened and why this is happening, I suppose.
Yeah. And it's boring.
It is kind of slow. To be honest, because I started watching it last night, but then I got interrupted and paused it, and I told my boyfriend, like, I've only seen like 5 minutes or something, so it's fine. I looked it up later. No, I had seen 23 minutes. Yeah. And I thought had been just 5 minutes.
Yeah, because nothing happens.
Yeah, like, even though that was the beginning of it, where stuff actually happens, it still feels so slow that I thought I'd only seen 5 minutes.
Yeah. And that is the main problem with John Carpenter when he makes movies. Like, and he has mentioned in several commentary tracks that he does this because he has such a low budget. He like fills the time out with mood, quote unquote, which is just, you know, filming the sets in movie lighting and, you know, people standing set pieces, around. Basically. Yeah. And it works to some degree. Like in Halloween, it works perfectly. That movie, I think that one, even if
it's a bit slow at some times.
It drags out before the night when it's still the daytime when all the kids are going to school. But it still manages to set mood better than this does. This just feels drawn out.
Yeah. I think the only scene I actually like being slow in The Fog is when Jamie Lee Curtis is in the... I'm guessing they're at like the hospital or something.
Yeah. Yeah, when they're turning in the body.
Nick steps out with the doctor and they start talking about, you remember those kids that drowned out of the blah, 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 whatever?
Yeah, diving for the wreck, which I'm guessing is
they were down for like 3 days and he looks like he's been down for months compared to them.
Yeah.
But he's only been missing for half a day. That scene I kind of like being slow because you get some information, you get scary, spooky things happening with the corpse.
Yeah, because the corpse comes to life for like a few seconds. Yeah,
grabs a scalpel of some sort and like comes for Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the coroner, the guy who checks the body.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name. But that's another actor who has worked with Carpenter before. He is like one of the main characters in Assault on Precinct 13. Little trivia for you.
Little trivia.
Yeah. But yeah, and I know a lot of people when we say that these scenes where nothing happens are boring, Carpenter fans are going to say, "Well, that's the point of the movie." So it'll be interesting to see if we get any comments on this regarding that.
I mean, each their own.
That's the same thing with Escape from New York, where I can't stand it. It's just Kurt Russell walking around like a ruined New York. Like so much of that movie is just him walking, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's moody because it's dim and there's like." Bums fighting in the background, but like nothing happens. There's literally a scene where he walks into frame from the left, then he walks slowly, camera following him. Camera stops in the middle where he stops, looks around, looks down the street. There's this long street with street lights. He picks up a chair, sits down, and goes, and then the scene ends. Okay. Like, what the fuck is the point of that scene? There's not as much in this one because this movie is shorter than both Halloween and Escape from New York. But there are
Yeah.
those scenes as well. Like everything is so drawn out, and not in a good way. Because a movie like A Ghost Story, which we talked about on a Patreon episode. Like there are so many scenes that are just drawn out. Like the scene when they're going back to bed after hearing the piano play itself in the night. And it's just a shot of them laying down in the bed, like snuggling up to each other, and then basically we watch them sleep for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But that scene fills a purpose.
Yes, and it's different because the mood of the movie is a completely different thing.
Sure,
The
yeah,
vibes
that
are
too.
different.
That too.
The
But
Fog is supposed to be a horror movie.
Yeah.
A thriller horror. But so it needs excitement and things to scare you. Having slow scenes where nothing happens doesn't scare you. It doesn't even set the mood to scare you eventually. It just goes, well, okay, this is a lull.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that. And because you have all the characters are in different places, sometimes they cut back and forth, and it kind of kills the mood. Like when the priest is reading about what happened, when he reads the journal, they cut to the seagrass where Tom Atkins and Jamie Lee Curtis are looking for, well, the crew. So he reads a little bit, then cut to them just looking around. He reads a little bit, cut to them just looking around like, ooh, it's cold in here, and all the gauges are broken. Cut back to him telling us a little more. Like that's one of the better scenes. Him reading that, I think that's a pretty good mood setter. What he reads is pretty horrific. And he does a very good job of it. Hal Holbrook is a great actor.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure he won, not for this, but he's won Oscars, or at least an Oscar. Let me double check. Oh my god, he died this year. Rest in peace.
He did? Oh yeah, in January.
No, he was nominated for an Oscar for Into the Wild. Okay, in 2007. Either way,
I think he won an Emmy and a Tony.
Oh yeah, he's been nominated and he won a bunch of stuff. Emmys, bunch of primetime Emmys. He's been nominated and won them. But either way, like he's probably the best actor in the movie, the priest.
Yeah. And
he doesn't have much to do, but the scenes he is in are the best ones. And just the fact that he can read, just sit down in a well-lit room and read out loud, and that scene is like one of the better scenes. Because that, for me at least, that scene worked to set a creepy tone. Like, this is a town built on murder.
Also, when they're going on the ship and they're looking for the crew and they, like, discover all the things being weird and, like, oh my god, it's like this boat has been turned over in water. If you'd seen those scenes separately, if you'd seen the entire scene of them going through the ship and it just becomes weirder and weirder and weirder, then you'd be like, maybe this is a bit creepy. Mm-hmm. If you didn't know that it was the fog that killed them.
Yeah, we already know
That's why I'm saying, like, if you hadn't seen the shape of the ghosts, we'd only seen the fog coming on the ship, and then all of a sudden they're dead, or we just know that something happened, and then they find the ship and they're like, oh my god, it's like this boat's been away for months. It's like it's been on the bottom of the sea, and then they find the body with the eyes missing. That would have been creepy.
Yeah. And that's kind of funny. That's why I found it very funny that the scenes they went back and shot because they thought the movie wasn't scary enough are all the scenes of the ghosts killing people.
Which you didn't really need.
No, it would have been more scary. Yeah. This ghosts are the scariest when they just stand there and you barely see them in the fog.
Yeah, when you don't have a physical being to be scared of, you're not, like, you're actually scared because you don't know what to be scared of.
Yeah, I would have loved to have more scenes of just ghosts, like, standing around, and see more scenes of people in the town, like, oh, what happened? Oh, the lights went out, and they like, walk from one room to another, and you see the mist slowly coming in under the door, and there's just someone standing, Who's
and
that?
Then the light flickers and stuff.
Yeah, and they walk towards them, and we don't see anymore. But people start disappearing in the town. But we don't get that because they didn't have the budget to have a bunch of extras running around and filming in a bunch of different locations. That's why after the whole celebration thing, the town is just gone. We don't see the town anymore. We don't see any more of the town folk. They're just gone from the movie. They had them for one scene.
Do we actually get 5 killings though? Because we have the 3 dudes on the ship.
Yes,
We have the babysitter.
That's my next thing.
Who's number 5?
We have 5 kills, and then the 6th one is the priest.
Who's number 5?
The 3 guys on the ship, or the boat.
Yeah.
The babysitter, Mrs. Whatever her name was, I don't remember.
Old lady.
Old lady. The weather guy.
Oh, that's right. He gets killed too.
The mist...
When she screams at him, "No, don't go into the fog."
Yeah. And they like strangle him or something. He dies, and then the last one is
right.
The priest.
The priest, yeah.
They attack Nancy Loomis when they're in the church. That's the one they grab through the window, grab her hair. I think it's Nancy Loomis. Maybe it's Janet Leigh. No, it's Jamie Lee Curtis.
No, it's the assistant.
I think they switch at some point.
Maybe?
Because I know that Janet Leigh and Nancy Loomis are like trying to hold back the big cupboard they put against the door or the window. And first,
I distinctly remember her hair being the one.
Yeah, her hair, but then
it's very curly.
I'm pretty sure later though, when the ghosts disappear, it's Jamie Lee Curtis being almost dragged through the window.
Maybe both of them do.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they switch off. I don't know. Either way.
Yeah, and I mean they're hunting the radio lady.
Yeah, they're hunting her as well. So, who are the 6 ancestors? We know the priest, because he's the one who, his great-grandfather was the one who wrote the books. We know that. Father Malone and Father Malone. But we don't get the names of the other conspirators. So we don't know. We can guess.
I mean, they do come knocking at Nick's door.
Yeah. Maybe he has lived in the town for a long time. But if they attack Jamie Lee Curtis, that doesn't make sense because she literally arrived in town last night.
Well, I mean, she's probably just in the way when they're trying to get into the church, so they don't care that they're attacking her there. But like, they come for the radio lady and her son, but they killed the old lady instead.
They killed, and Adrienne Barbeau, the radio lady.
Yeah.
She is originally from Chicago. She mentions that, when she the whole long scene when she walks up and down to get into the lighthouse. When she gets up there, she lights a cigarette and says, "Well, it's not much, but at least it ain't Chicago." So she's not from there originally either.
And neither is the kid then, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Because he was born before they moved there.
Yeah.
So why are they attacking them?
Are they mad that she's informing people that they're attacking? Or like, are they listening to the radio?
I know, but they say 6 must die. That's what it says on the piece of wood.
Maybe they don't care which 6. Maybe they just want 6 people. Okay. 6 people for the original 6. Just like any 6 people who live in this town will do. We don't care if you've lived here forever or just a day.
Okay.
We need 6 people. That's I'm guessing, because that would be the only logical explanation.
Yeah, it's a stretch, but okay.
It's not how usually you would.
No,
that's not how
usually
you
you
write
kill
a
the
ghost
ancestors.
Story. You want the ancestors.
That's
you want blood.
As we talked about in the last Patreon exclusive episode when we did Dead Silence. Mary Shaw killed the children of the people who killed her. Anyone
blood related to them must die, and that's usually what it is.
That's usually the thing. That's the thing in A Nightmare on Elm Street. He is killing the children of the parents who murdered him. That is even in John Carpenter's other movie Halloween. It's not in the original, but he wrote that into the script because he needed some sort of hook. He wrote it in that Laurie Strode is actually Michael Myers' much younger sister that they had after he went to the insane asylum. Right. So that's why he was hunting her, because he wants to kill his family. And that's later when he's hunting her daughter in the later movies and blah blah blah.
Yeah. That's even the thing in Scream, sort of. They're all connected to the fact that
the original murder.
What's her name?
Shit. Lee? No,
Sandy?
no, not Lee. Either way.
I don't know. Yeah.
The main girl.
Everyone's connected to her.
It is connected to her.
That's why they're getting killed.
Even in the third one, where it's like a stretch.
Yeah. And it's even in the last one, it's the niece or something.
It's her niece.
Involved.
Yeah, that's thus the murders. Ooh, spoilers.
Well, yeah. But see, every time it's always connected to the main person doing the person who did something bad,
Yeah.
their family are the ones who get to pay.
And I mean, if we're gonna apply real life logic to ghosts, I know you can't really do that. But
Yeah.
if we're gonna, like, hauntings are always a specific place or person.
Yes.
It's not just, if it's a place, it's random people. But if a person is connected to that place, they will haunt that person. Or if, like in movies, they will kill people. They kill that person. They might scare other people, but I mean, they won't kill other people.
And a place is rarely an entire town. It's like one house or...
Yes,
even,
exactly.
Like one room sometimes.
Yeah. It is kind of funny, though, because there is actually, speaking of a haunted town, there is a coastal town in America called Astoria. I know that's a neighborhood in New York, but there is a town somewhere on the west coast, I think, called Astoria, where the entire town is supposedly haunted from
I've heard of that.
from different incidents. So it's not like one ghost haunting an entire town. It's shipwrecks.
Shit has happened.
Yeah, shipwrecks over here, a murder in the church and stuff. But the entire town is haunted, supposedly.
Yeah, eventually the entire town went haunted and everyone just left. It's a ghost town now as well.
Well, no, people live there. People live there.
Okay, then I'm thinking of another one.
There might be more,
There's another one where, like, everyone just moved out. Because people just kept dying, getting hurt.
Well, yeah, they become literal ghost towns, yeah.
Yeah.
But this one is like people that still live there. It was on like a 4-part special on Ghost Adventures a few years ago.
Oh, of course.
Yes. My favorite show. Where they talked about that. But either way. So a town can be haunted, but not in this way.
No, and
this is obviously they're going for the 6 conspirators that killed them and took their money.
Otherwise, that information would be so pointless.
Yeah,
why put that thing about 6 specific people? Why not just say the entire town?
Yeah, they hate the town now or whatever. No, it's 6 specific people.
Because that happens in other ghost stories or like horror movies where, the town shunned these people or kicked them out or murdered them or whatever. So the entire town needs to pay.
Yeah. And then, so that's a big problem with the movie, and I honestly think that they just didn't think about that when they wrote the script. They wanted the classic, 6 people, 6 must die, but then they attack more people because otherwise it's not scary. Okay.
I mean, they could have just solved that by, like, having the priest read some names and naming some characters after that, not even telling us, like, but that's my ancestor. No, just mention names and mention their last names, like, once.
Yeah.
And you would have,
yeah, now it's just something they say so they can have that 6 must die thing, but then they don't do anything with it. And then there's
also added a few minutes to the runtime. I'm just saying.
And then there's another thing, because they say that they want the money, but they don't want the leper colony, and that's why they're killing them, so they can take the money and build out their settlement into an actual town without having a bunch of lepers running around.
A bunch of sick people.
Yeah. However, then the priest just took all the money, melted it down. It's on the later pages, which he reads later in the night.
Yeah.
He took all the money for himself and melted it down into a big golden cross.
But they still managed to build a town.
They still managed to build a town, and that's the whole reason why they're celebrating those who were killed in the Elizabeth Dane or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Because that was what started the town. But if he took all the money for himself, how did they build the town?
I don't know.
That's what I hate about John Carpenter as a screenwriter. He has good ideas, like ghost pirates haunting a town. That's awesome. It's an awesome idea.
Sounds great.
And he mentions that in the commentary track. Him and Deborah Hill, I think.
Yeah, Deborah Hill.
And they were a couple at the time, I think.
No, he was actually together with Adrienne Barbeau at the time.
Oh, didn't they meet on the set of this?
They were married.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they got married. I don't know.
Yeah, I know he was involved with both Deborah Hill and Adrienne Barbeau. Either way. He mentions that he was on a trip to England, vacation or whatever, and they went to Stonehenge.
Yeah.
and he saw the fog rolling in over Stonehenge, and he was like, "Oh, imagine if there was something in the fog, something scary." That's the main idea for them. That's super cool.
I read that it was that and the British film The Trollenberg Terror from 1958.
Oh, okay.
Which also had like monsters hiding in the clouds kind of thing.
Oh, cool. Trollenberg Terror. I gotta look that up.
Yeah. But yeah, then it was the Stonehenge being covered in fog during their visit that also like inspired it.
And that is a great concept. I mean, Stephen King stole that concept as well for his short story The Mist.
Right.
Because it's a good, like, because mist in general is creepy. You can't see anything. It sometimes feels like it just comes out of nowhere. And especially like if you're driving, it's like dangerous to be in mist or fog.
Well, yeah, and like you said, you can't see anything, so you can't see if anyone's hiding it or anything.
Even in daylight, you can't see anything.
No.
So the fact that something malevolent or evil might be hiding in the fog, that's even scarier. Yes. And that's why the scenes with the ghosts just standing in the fog, they're the scariest.
Yeah.
But then,
like when they're standing in the church.
Yeah.
All of them and then Blake in the foreground. It's like, ooh, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah, those shots are really creepy and really well shot and well made.
Yeah.
But then you have to add a story. You can't just have ghosts standing in the fog.
No. Obviously,
there needs to be a reason for the ghosts being there. You need to have characters and all that. And that's when he's like, oh, okay, so the town is cursed because the ghosts want to kill the people who killed them, but they also want the gold that they used to build the town. But the priest took the money and melted it down and made a cross out of it. Because then they can have the scene when it says, "I am the main conspirator," and carrying the golden cross.
Yeah, that's how he can give it back, I guess. Yeah.
But then,
because how would he be able to give back the gold if they had built the city on it?
Yeah, exactly. But that's why you have the 6 must die. That the ghosts won't leave until they've killed the 6 ancestors to the conspirators.
Because the gold didn't do anything. Obviously, they still went back and killed.
They did disappear for a while, but then they killed him anyway. Yeah.
So maybe the gold is just like, nah, there wasn't any gold. That's not our gold. That's just some random gold.
Well, they said that there was payment for them to let them build the leper colony on near the town, near the settlement.
It was 40 miles away or something.
It was I think they said just a mile. That was the thing why they didn't want them there, because it's too close. So it was supposed to be payment for that, and they wanted the money because a little settlement needs money to build stuff and to survive. But
once they're dead, they don't care about money.
Yeah.
Because what's ghosts gonna do? What are ghosts gonna do with a bunch of gold?
Well, it's the whole thing that it's a principle. It's I guess. You stole it from us. I mean, isn't that kind of a thing in Casper? That the evil fucking lady who wants to buy the house, she becomes a ghost because she just wants that money, even when that's supposed to be hidden in the basement or the dungeon or whatever. I haven't watched that movie in probably 15 years or more.
I love that we've referenced Casper many times now when we're talking about ghost stories.
We have?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, you have.
Oh, okay. But ghosts...
It's one of the classic ghost stories, kind of basics.
And they do mention Casper the Friendly Ghost in the commentary track of The Fog, I'm just saying.
Oh.
Because he mentioned something like ghost stories weren't popular back then because people liked friendly ghosts, like Casper.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Either way, I don't think the ghosts want the money so they can spend it. It's just,
Well, no.
It's a principle. It was theirs and was stolen from them. That's why.
Yes.
But then
it's kind of like the curse in Pirates of the Caribbean. If you don't have all the gold, you can't break the curse.
Yeah, exactly. But then they also want to kill the conspirators.
Because it's their fault they're dead.
And that's fine. But we never know who the conspirators are. Were the fishermen ancestors of the guys who built the town?
Probably, because why else would they be killed?
Yeah, but if we knew that, if they established that, like, mentioned their names, and maybe we saw a plaque of the original settlers, and like, oh, it's the same name as them. Yeah. The audience could start connecting dots as well,
Yes.
but we never get to do that.
That's what you would normally write in, so that the audience does have something to connect the dots with.
And that's usually what a ghost story does.
Yeah.
It is a mystery where you want to find out why the ghost is haunting this place.
Yeah.
And as the final
Who
haunt
or why?
happens, we realize, like, oh, that's why. So we can release the ghost, or the ghost just kills the main person.
Yeah.
A ghost story is usually a mystery as well.
That's like every plot of the supernatural episodes. Like,
Yeah.
they need to figure out why they died, who killed them, or like who is responsible for them being angry when they died.
Yeah.
And then find their bodies and release their spirits, basically.
And I mean,
also in like Ghost Whisperer, that's also the same plot for every single episode.
Yeah, and we mentioned once again last Patreon episode, we mentioned The Woman in Black, which was a classic ghost story.
Classic.
And it's all about slowly connecting the dots to why she's so angry, why she's haunting the house, why she's killing the children. And we realize why, and that's why they managed to set her free in the end. Spoilers, she's so angry that she doesn't care, though, in the end. But
yeah,
that's the point. It's to have an extra scare in the end.
Yes.
And
I don't remember if that's the case in the book, though.
No, the book is... I gotta say...
Slightly different.
The book is different. And I think the movie is better than the fucking book, bro.
I don't remember. It was a while ago since I read the book. I might read it this Christmas, as it is technically a Christmas story.
Yes. Another A Christmas Carol. The ghosts, they have a reason for haunting Scrooge. It's not just, we're angry, we'll haunt you. No, there's a reason to it. And we slowly find out what the reason is.
There's always supposed to be a lesson to be learned.
That's the classic ghost story. And John Carpenter said when he made The Fog that he wanted to make like an homage to classic ghost stories.
But he failed.
Yes, he failed.
Because he missed one of the most crucial parts.
Yes.
Have a proper reason that makes sense.
And still, this is considered a cult classic. Like a great movie that people love. It didn't get
people who are less. I was about to say less intelligent.
No,
I don't know. Less nitpicking, I suppose, or something.
Maybe.
If you just look at it for the scares, I mean, it's not that scary either, measured in today. But
no.
Back in the 80s, sure, it was probably pretty cool, pretty scary, and if you didn't care about those kind of details, it was probably pretty good.
It's kind of funny, though, because it didn't get great reviews. It got some pretty good reviews, but based on...
Back in the 80s or now?
It doesn't say. I know... I can just see that one of the reviews was written in February 1980. The Washington Post. They gave them a 4 out of 10 on Metacritic.
They have old reviews on Metacritic.
Oh yeah, sometimes they add old reviews. But a lot of these are probably... Well, here's another one from March 1980. Gave it 5 out of 10. Let's see. But it doesn't say on the other ones. But let's just... So this is what a couple of people said back then, at least. Maybe I can read more on the actual... Because I'm just looking at IMDb right now.
Yeah.
But I'll just read this one. Gary Arnold, Washington Post, in 1980 wrote, "An acceptable scene setter, Carpenter reveals glaring inadequacies as a storyteller." Yeah, exactly. And the other one was...
Newsweek from 1980 as well.
Yeah, exactly.
David Anson. The Fog needs more suggestive magic to sustain its far-fetched premise. There's no doubt that Carpenter has talent to spare, but he's misjudged his gifts this time. The Fog ought to come on little cat feet, but it's heavy and literal. What?
Yeah, I think it's too on the nose. And
yeah, the harder it tries, the sillier it gets. Yeah.
And that's true. I mean, the ghosts are the scariest when they're just standing there, and then they almost become like zombies towards the end, and it's just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, like when they're fighting on top of the lighthouse, you even get to see one of the faces.
Yeah, it's a physical face with little worms in it, and like even if they were
reanimated dead bodies, they would have been underwater for so long that they wouldn't be green with worms in them. It would have been just skeletons.
Yeah. Oh,
with rags possibly hanging from their body still.
Here's another one from 1980, written by Roger Ebert, one of the most famous reviewers of all time. I gotta say though, the more I read of his stuff, the less I like him as a critic. But I still, yeah. Well, we can talk about that another time. He's very opinionated when it comes to certain things. I'll show you some stuff. We could talk about him. But either way, I still respect him as a critic. And he gave it another 5 out of 10. The Fog is encouraging because it contains another demonstration of Carpenter's considerable directing talents. He picked the wrong story, I think, but he directs it with a flourish. This isn't a great movie, but it does show great promise from Carpenter. And yeah, like we said, some of the
directing isn't bad. It's the story that's kind of bad.
The story is bad, and the filler stuff is bad.
Yes, well, that's because it's just filler. They serve no purpose. Doesn't mean they're directed poorly.
No, exactly. And the best, at least on Metacritic, it's an 8 out of 10 from Empire. So I think this might not have been written in the 80s, because I don't think Empire was run in the 80s. Let's see.
No,
wait.
Not. Isn't Empire from like the 90s?
Here, yeah. It was posted on 1st of January 2015.
Oh,
so of course, then of course at that point it had become a cult classic.
Yes.
But he writes, just reading the short stuff here, ghoulish, tense, and utterly fantastical. John Carpenter's tale of shipwrecked specters squelching their way through a fluorescent fog to wreak vengeance on a seaside town is a classic campfire yarn.
Sure, because you don't have all the filler stuff. You do perhaps mention more details.
Yeah, and I see what you're getting at there, and that's the stuff what you remember are the best stuff. You remember them standing in the fog. You remember the fog, the glowing fog rolling in.
Yes.
You remember the kids on the beach being told the ghost story. You remember the town for some reason coming alive almost. But all that is in the first 20 minutes or 25 minutes. I don't think anyone's favorite scene is the siege at the church or the candlelight procession.
When they're talking about buying candles for everyone.
I honestly think this is just me. Just me.
Yes.
But I honestly, when people think of this movie, they think of the first 20 minutes.
Probably.
Because that's what I remembered. Because when I sat down and watched it, I remember this is why I love this movie. It's really creepy. It's moody. You see the ghost ship go by the seagrass. That's awesome. Yeah. And then there's another hour left of just
basically
boring stuff until the last 5 minutes when you have a glowing cross, which is kind of cool. And the ghost standing in the church. That's cool. But that's it.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway,
that's
a
bit of a disappointment, but perhaps it is also because we are used to the more modern ways of telling stories and adding time that's not just fillers.
I can't. For me, that's not it.
Well,
because some of my favorite horror movies are even older than this. The Exorcist, Halloween, another Carpenter movie. The Thing, that's technically newer, but only a couple of years.
Yeah. But for me, it is.
Fucking Night of the Living Dead is a better horror movie than this. That's a great movie. I mean, I can't say that I'm used to more scarier scares because of modern movies. For me, it's not. Maybe for you.
For me, it is probably. As we mentioned in the Patreon episode, that the movies I remember growing up with that are horror are the early 2000s.
Yeah, sure.
Teen screens almost.
Yeah.
Like really bad, only direct to DVD kind of things.
Yeah.
That's my kind of horror. That's what I grew up with. That and like Scream.
Yeah. Yeah, but
for me, this is just. It looks old.
Yeah. But all my I'm thinking of like my top 5 is probably all from the 70s and 80s. The Exorcist 72, Alien 78, 79, 78. Whatever. Evil Dead, 1980. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 76, 78, something like that. And then fifth one, The Thing, 82.
Wait, we did like a list, didn't we?
That might differ. And now I was just pulling it out of my ass, but when did we do a list?
Because we tweeted with the
right,
the other podcast.
High on Horror. Check them out on Spotify.
Alien, The Woman in Black, Nosferatu from 22,
yes.
Evil Dead, and The Exorcist.
So okay. So you have one modern movie there, so to speak.
Yeah, I said The Strangers, Scream, all of them, but mainly the first one.
Yeah.
Incident in a Ghost Land, The Frighteners, and The Exorcism of Emily Rose. All of them are from the 2000s.
Yeah, mid-2000s or early 2010s.
Except for Scream, that's the 90s, I think.
Yes, 96, I think.
Yeah, late 90s.
Yeah. Well, and I guess Ghostland is 2018, but still.
Yeah, you see the difference, though.
Oh, yeah.
My scary movies, my favorite movies are more modern.
Definitely.
And I mean, there's only 4 years difference between us.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what it... Like, I watched older movies and you watched newer movies.
Yeah.
But I mean, so then for me, I can't say that, I'm used to modern scary movies. No. The scariest movies for me are older. I mean, I had fucking Nosferatu on that list.
Yes.
Now, that's a scary fucking movie. So I just don't... For me...
this one doesn't deserve the cult thing.
No,
some of Carpenter's movies does, but obviously.
But at the same time, it does. I mean, or certain parts of it, because I don't think this should be forgotten, because the good stuff is really good, and that's. And I mean,
Carpenter is still one of the like earlier big Hollywood dudes who actually made multiple horror films.
Yeah, well, he was never big Hollywood, but you know.
No, but like he built up what horror is.
Yeah,
he's part of the beginning of modern horror.
Yeah, he defined the genre of slashers with Halloween. He created
specifically, yes.
He created the slasher genre. Some would say, others would say it's an earlier movie, but whatever.
But like he's part of the original. Yes. What makes horror?
Yeah, when people talk about horror movies, they say it's Jason Voorhees, it's Freddy Krueger, and it's Michael Myers.
Yes, those are the three main bad guys in horror.
Yeah. So
he's not bad. This movie, however, is
and there is
one of her lesser ones.
Yeah, I'd say it's a middling one from him. Because there is good stuff in it, and I would say there is enough good stuff in it to warrant a rewatch. Like I'll watch this with some friends if they want to watch it, but just watching it by myself, it's boring.
Yeah, and also when you're watching it for the purpose that we watched it, you overanalyze things.
Sure.
If you watch it just to watch a movie, then maybe you wouldn't care as much.
Yeah, I suppose.
We're ruining movies for ourselves by overanalyzing things.
Well, we also discover some movies that stand up to analytical scrutiny.
True.
And I think that's more important, because sure, movies can be just like hangout movies. There's a bunch of those. This is sure. This is a hangout movie then, but then it's like, oh, it's a great movie if you don't pay attention to it. It's like, what? That's not a good criteria, at least not for me. I know a lot of people would say it is. Like, oh, you just want to shut your brain off and watch a scary movie.
But that's not a good movie. That's a popcorn movie.
Exactly.
There's a difference.
But we've gone on for too long. Do you have any closing thoughts on the movie, or have we've pretty much exhausted it?
It made me curious to see the remake, I have to say.
Oh, yes.
Because that one I haven't seen.
I haven't seen that either, because I heard it was terrible, and this was back when I liked The Fog, so...
Yeah.
And I was going to say that before we started recording, but I didn't. I think we should do that for the Patreon exclusive episode.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear us compare them...
Yeah.
See if the more modern version is
2005.
more to my liking or not. I suppose. More what I like, what I'm used to.
That could be
Check out the
interesting
Patreon.
because that one is like
2005, right?
yeah, known as one of the worst like horror remakes ever. So that'll be interesting. Yeah,
That'll be interesting. We'll see.
yeah. So
And if you want to know, check out the episode.
check out the episode on Patreon every Monday. Exclusive episodes, kind of follow-up episodes to these episodes. And of course also, like we said, commentary tracks, early access to Managing the Method. You get exclusive videos, early access to videos. So much stuff for just $3 a month. There are different tiers, but the $3 tier is the best one, I would say. There are $1, $10, and $20, but go for the $3. It's the best one.
So check out the links. Also, you can find our socials there.
Yeah, Instagram at the spoilerCast, Twitter at the spoilerCast. I finally started becoming very active there and talking to other podcasters and stuff. So it's a lot of fun stuff there.
Yes.
GIFs, threads, lists, lots of stuff.
Things
there.
that will probably inspire episodes.
Oh yeah. So check us out there. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're on all the major podcast platforms. So follow us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, everywhere. If you're listening,
and follow anywhere.
Yeah. And if you're listening to us on any of those platforms, you can watch this podcast and actually see our faces on YouTube. So subscribe and like youtube.com/please don't make a scene.
Yes.
But that's it for this week or this episode. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. But until then, have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.